Hello everybody, and we are here at the site of the Battle of Gettysburg, the deadliest battle in the Civil War. It's located in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, as you can tell. We are here right now at the first standoff, Mcpherson Ridge, where General Reynolds and the Confederate Army had their first standoff right here in this field. Right here. Now this place is absolutely overwhelming. I cannot do all of this in one video. It's literally impossible. So basically I'm going to give you a little background on the Battle of Gettysburg. So it's probably the most well-known battle in the Civil War. It took place from July 1st to July 3rd of 1863. It was a 3-day battle. Killed about 50,000 people. There's about 25,000 on each side died. The commanding general in the Union Army was George Meade, and then the Confederate Army was Robert E. Lee. This place right here was the first standoff. General Reynolds was one of the commanders under Meade. Across the battlefield, they got these monuments here for the regiments that fought. And one of my ancestors actually fought in the 73rd Ohio, so I'm going to try to find that one at some point through this so I can go over that. But this was the recruited in Philadelphia, one of the Pennsylvania regiments. As you can see here, I think it's the 100. So it started on the morning of July 1st, 1863. The thing that made this battle, this was the turning point in the war because the Confederates were attacking the Union in Pennsylvania. The Confederates were actually winning the war up to this point. They'd done really well in 1861 and 1862. When they came up here, Robert E. Lee's plan did not go out as planned, and he kind of lost the battle because of that. It basically made the Union just completely destroyed them. The rest of the war kind of ruined it for them. As you can see here, this is one of the Pennsylvania regiments. The 100, I don't know what that says. I cannot read this number. It's unscripted, really weird. But some Pennsylvania, I think that's 12th or 121st Infantry. July 1st, 1863, the first day of the battle. Occupy the position. I can't read that. I'm really sorry, but I just cannot. Virtue of independence. President Gettysburg. 11 officers. 295 men in this regiment, killed and wounds, none. 20 of the men were killed. 5 officers wounded. 1 officer missing. 60 men missing. And 93 men wounded. So this army, I believe, was the first to win the first standoff. I'm sure they put these here where they fought. So the battle here, the first standoff, this Pennsylvania regiment fought in. And I guess how many died? Dang, 20. So they kind of got destroyed. So you just imagine this place in 1863, just bodies lined up everywhere. It's just, the Civil War was the deadliest conflict in American history, killing 600,000 people, and this was the deadliest battle in that war. So it was organized in Pennsylvania. So let's move on to the next one. There's a lot of monuments down there of all the regiments, a lot of Pennsylvania and New York infantry and cavalry here. So this was the first standoff. I'm assuming like this fenced area was the first battle. So we have some cannons here. Pretty cool. They got a monument for General Reynolds up here. Let's go check that out. Artillery Brigade, 1st Corps, Battery L, 1st New York. So he's a New York guy, Reynolds, as you can see here. We got a few cannons. These are probably actually legit used at the battle. So I'm going to check this out down here. This is. There were 170,000 men that fought at this battle, so I can't go through it all in one day. But I'm going to do the best I can. So let's read some of these signs here. The best part about these historic site tours, sign reading. Here we go. Union General, okay, he was a Union General, John Reynolds rushed his 1st Corps to the aid of General John Buford's cavalry. So Reynolds and Buford were the 2 Union generals at the very start of the battle. And then I guess Buford had cavalry and Reynolds had the men on foot. They're advancing the Confederates. Okay. Forward, men, forward, God's sake, and drive those fellows out of the woods. So I guess they were pushing them towards the woods back there. That's pretty sweet. Okay. So here's a side. This is probably Buford. Or maybe just a random guy. So here we go. Fight like the devil. July 1st, dawn, 10:30 a.m. Union General John Buford arrived in Gettysburg with 2,700 cavalry men on June 30th. So cavalry is on horseback, so that's quite a few. Detecting the advance of the Confederate Army, he deployed his troopers in the 7-mile arc around the town. Determined to delay their advance, the morning of July 1st, 1863, 7,000 Confederate infantry approaching from the west and north collided with Buford's dismounted cavalry using the ridges to advance. By 9:15 a.m., Buford knew he may have to abandon the field at this critical moment. Union General Reynolds arrived, and the 10,000 infantrymen on his first Army Corps were not far behind. This is the first spot where they came out of the woods on the morning of July 1st. Here's Lawrence Reynolds. I think this is a grave. It's just a memorial. Commanding left wing, 1st, 3rd, and 11th Corps, Army of the Potomac, July 1st, 1863, erected by the state of Pennsylvania, 1886. So nice. Like the location. So this is where it like all. So back there, if you can see the view back there, that was all the. Oh my God! Oh my gosh, this hat is a legend. Oh my God! All right, so that's all Mcpherson Ridge, the first site. There's plenty of regiment stuff. I couldn't go over all the monuments. Right here is the Eternal Flame, the preservation of the Union. They have the Eternal Flame up there. They have it up here that the Union will stay united forever, like while it burns. So there we go. Army of Northern Virginia. Ewell, General Ewell's corpse, Rose Division. Yeah, there's some stats on Ewell's army. He was one of the generals for the Confederates. A lot of people up here. So this is a monument for the Army of Northern Virginia, which was the Confederate Army that was here. Look at this little path that goes back through here. This actually was pretty sweet. And then you get to see the entire battlefield. See, there's a lot of people here because it's a very nice day. Rode in to give the Gettysburg Address in November. He rode on those tracks, and we actually ate at a restaurant down there. They go into downtown Gettysburg. And there's a restaurant called like the Lincoln Diner or something, and we ate there this morning for breakfast. And you can see their tracks right by it. So it's pretty cool. And we got some tour buses here and stuff, probably like field trip or something. But yeah, so let's go check out the Oak Ridge section of the battlefield. So right here they have a monument for the 11th Pennsylvania Regiment. This dog here is supposed to symbolize a dog named Battlefield Sally, who was actually in the front lines with them during the battle and a ton of battles in the Civil War, throughout the entire Civil War, basically. She fought with the 11th Pennsylvania. And she eventually did get killed in 1865, though, but she survived Gettysburg, which is actually pretty cool. And they got a little thing down. People put, like, flowers by her and stuff. Then we got this guy up here at the top for symbolize one of the people that fought in the 11th Pennsylvania Regiment. Cool, man. Here's the stats. All of these monuments have the stats here. So we have the President of Gettysburg, officers, men, wounded. You get that, yeah. So definitely. Infantry. Yep. Pretty cool. We were driving through. I thought this looked cool. This is a monument for all the 32 North Carolina regiments that fought at Gettysburg and eventually were defeated. But this guy over here, I was listening to this tour guide, and he said all the 11 Confederate states have monuments here at Gettysburg for each state. So let's go check this out. We should, there we go. This is when they put the thing in July of 1929, when they dedicated the North Carolina Memorial. So there's about 6,000 North Carolina soldiers died at Gettysburg. I guess while they're here, we can go check this out. There we go. North Carolina, 1863. Oh, is this the one? This might be the one for Tennessee. You can see here, Tennessee, valor and courage were virtues of the 3 Tennessee regiments. So there were 3 Tennessee regiments here at Gettysburg. This is the monument for them. So there were only that's why it's probably not as big. But here we go, the 1st, 7th, and 14th Tennessee regiments. Here are their stats. The volunteer state. So these are all volunteer regiments. That's pretty cool. So in total, they lost about 16 in total. Only 16 men from Tennessee. Not too many Tennessee people, but they have the state for that. So it's pretty cool. And then the huge North Carolina one over there. Let's check out the North Carolina one.
That's what we know of. It's called. It's actually Longstreet assault. And Trumbull's men.
Up there's Buford's cavalry.
That looks like a fierce group of soldiers.
Oh yeah. Alright, let's go check out the next thing. Alright, so this is the monument for Virginia. It is the biggest one here and the first one erected. I think it's Robert E. Lee at the top because he was from Virginia. Obviously, Virginia was the capital of the Confederate States. And it's the largest monument here because Virginia had the most amount of soldiers at Gettysburg. Oh my god, it looks so cool, dude. Virginia to her sons at Gettysburg. That's the Virginia Memorial. It looks awesome. I'm pretty sure that's probably Robert E. Lee at the top because he was the commander during Gettysburg and all the Civil War for the Confederates, and he was also from Virginia. So, that would say on one of the tours. Robert E. Lee, the statue, is looking at Pickett's charge, which happened on July 3rd of 1863, third day of the battle. This is this area. I mean, we did Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia monuments, so each state has their own thing. Here's another sign. Not gonna read this here, but all right. So here's the monument for Florida. Luckily, the tour bus skipped this one, so they didn't check it out. So we actually heard myself. So here's the stats for Florida. One of the regiments over here, the 2nd, 5th, and 8th Florida. So you can see the Florida and the Tennessee ones aren't as big because there just wasn't as many people that fought there, or they fought with courage and devotion for the ideals. But there we go. 700 men. They were here July 2nd and 3rd of 1863, so they weren't there the first day of the battle. So there we go. Nice. We're on commission. There we go. Here's the back, here's the field. Here we're talking about Robert E. Lee in Little Round Top and Cemetery Hill, which we'll get to here in a second. I hope. I don't actually know. Confederate General Longstreet monument right here. This guy was the, Longstreet knew that the Union soldiers would not be able to see him, so he parked his army right here in the woods. Then he was going to plan an attack. He knew that if he could win this fight here at Little Round Top, he would win the war, and he'd be the man that would help the Confederates win. Here he is. I freaking love Longstreet. He's one of my favorite Confederate generals. Look at that beard, man. Woo! He's got a sword. Oh, there's a penny right here. He's got money right here. My man Longstreet. And they couldn't see him through the trees, so he was going to plan an attack to go out that way to defeat them. And he knew that if he could win that, he'd win the Civil War, and he'd be the man to help the Confederates win the battle. But it didn't go out as planned, and the Unions defeated them. Here's Longstreet and his horse.
Turn around and get a picture.
You want to read those cards?
These? Now let's read some of these things. So this is the Longstreet Memorial. I'm not sure where he's buried, to be honest. I'd like to see his gravestone. Oh no. Alright, here we go. Lieutenant General James Longstreet, commanding the 1st Corps of Northern Virginia.
General Longstreet's command held and protected the right wing of the army July 2nd to 4th of 1863. His 1st Corps attacked and dislodged Union forces on the Devil's Den and Wheatfield and Peach Orchard on July 2nd. As a portion of his infantry secured the Peach Orchard, General Longstreet advanced on horseback with them. The following day, Longstreet was ordered by Robert E. Lee to coordinate an attack against the Union center on Cemetery Ridge. On July 3rd, Longstreet's assault was repulsed with great loss after penetrating the enemy's battle line on the Cemetery Ridge. During the march back to Virginia, General Longstreet and his 1st Corps played a prominent role in protecting the retreating army.
He would have won that. I mean, the Confederates might have been able to win at Gettysburg, but what's this? That's just... Oh, by the soldiers, he is invariably spoken as the best fighter of the whole army. That's what they said about Longstreet. So he was very skilled soldier and lieutenant general. Let's go this way. This is in the movie that we watched. He played a major role in that. this is the same thing. Here's Longstreet. Here's my old war horse, General Robert E. Lee. The 8th U.S. Infantry. So he had originally, Longstreet was born in South Carolina. He was born in 1821. He died in 1904, so that's actually pretty old. Most Civil War veterans did not make it to the 1900s because of how traumatized they were after the war and stuff. So that's kind of rare for that long. So he graduated from West Point in 1842, served as a lieutenant with the 8th U.S. Infantry in the Mexican War, and brevetted major for gallantry, the Battle of Molino del Rey. Resigned commission as Major U.S. Army in May of 1861. Appointed Brigadier General for the Confederate States of America in June of 1861. Promoted to Major General of the Confederate States in October, and promoted Lieutenant General of the Confederate States in October of 1862. And General Robert E. Lee's second in command and ranking Lieutenant General, the Army of Northern Virginia. So he fought alongside Robert E. Lee. Lee and Longstreet were pretty close. Gallantly led troops in battles at the First Manassas, which I think was the first battle of Bunker Hill. Or not Bunker Hill. Bunker Hill was a Revolutionary War. I can't think of it. Bull Run. That was first battle of Bull Run. Peninsula. And the second battle. And Antietam, Fredericksburg, Gettysburg, Chickamauga, and Knoxville. Wounded at the Battle of Wilderness in May of 1864, although he returned to duty in the Union siege of Petersburg, and the present with General Lee and the surrender of the army at the when he surrendered in April of 1865. I guess he was there as well. So that's pretty cool. That's a little rundown about Longstreet. So again, probably one of my top 5 favorite generals in the Civil War. I don't know if he's probably not my favorite, but definitely he might be my second favorite Confederate general, next to Lee, of course. Is Louisiana, as you can see right here. We took a little break with the Longstreet Memorial, but this one looks pretty cool. They were there all 3 days of the battle, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. You can see here. This one looks really cool. He's got that flame at the top playing the instrument. Louisiana's a cool state, obviously named after my man, King Louis XIV. This was put here in 1971. This is a very new one. Oh man, you got a wounded soldier right here. Oh, and there's like a god or something. You can see it's like a holy figure. Oh, this is sweet. This one looks really cool. I'll get my picture. So as you can see, the bigger the monument, the more people were there. As you can see, with the Tennessee and Florida ones, they weren't too big because there weren't too many regiments. But Louisiana and Virginia and North Carolina, a lot of people. So Hayes and Nichols, Louisiana Brigades, artillery in New Orleans, and those in Louisiana Guard, Madison, Donaldsonville artillery batteries. So there we go. Let's go. All right. Next, let's check out the next one. All right, so just a few feet away from the Louisiana monument, you can see cannons are just lined up through here. We have the Mississippi monument for all the Mississippi regiments. Obviously, this guy's like knocking this guy out with a rifle or something. Mississippi was one of the most vicious states when it came to slavery. And even later on, here we go, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in 1863. So they were there all the days. Big part in this war that Mississippi played. On this ground, our brave sires fought for their righteous cause. In glory they sleep, who gave it to their lives. To valor they cave new dimensions of courage. To duty its nobles. I can't read. You're welcome. Maybe he's like fighting because the guy got shot or something. But that's awesome. So there we go. Barksdale's Charge. Oh, so this is also the site of Barksdale's Charge right here. Now this is not as famous as Pickett's Charge, but this is another charge for July 2nd, Barksdale. Here he is. He was the private in the Brigadier General, 17th Mississippi. All right. We'll read some of this stuff. On the afternoon, July 2nd, most of Longstreet's Confederate 1st Corps were engaged in battle from Little Round Top, which was over there, in Peach Orchard. Brigadier General William Barksdale, Mississippi Brigade, the 17th Mississippi, stood in line directly behind you. Stood in line right here. This is where their line was. I guess, oh, that's probably why they put the monument here. So maybe there's a reason these monuments are in the places they are. Who knows? Oh, maybe the Virginia one's there because they fought against Pickett's charge. Or Pickett is from Virginia. Ah, makes sense. Shortly after 6 p.m., the order came. The Barksdale's brigade, followed by Wolford's Georgia brigade, charged the Federals' position, the Peach Orchard. Violence. July 2nd. Georgia State Monument, but I wanted to talk about right here, behind these woods, there's a field. And that's where Longstreet issued his attack. And you can go up there and see the field that Longstreet marched his soldiers out and they attacked the Union out in that field right over there. So here we go, here's Georgia. Georgia is one of my favorite states, obviously named after King George II, the ultimate hair guy. As you can see here, we sleep in obedience to law. When duty called, we came. When our country called, we died. So, that's Georgia Confederate soldiers. Same thing on each side. So as you can see, I guess Georgia didn't have too many soldiers there. No stats either for the state of Georgia, 1776. South Carolina, we got quite a few stats for it. This is one of the larger ones. Pretty nice looking. 1st Brigade, 3rd Army Corps, Cavalry. Okay, so JEB Stuart is from South Carolina. So JEB Stuart's cavalry didn't show up until July 2nd. They weren't there the first day of the battle, which kind of screwed up the Confederates, and could have been one of the reasons they didn't win the war was JEB Stuart's army. And JEB Stuart is buried at Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, which we'll see here in a few days if you keep following the channel. So here's some of the stats here, South Carolina. There's their quote. And James Longstreet as well. Longstreet's things there. So now JEB Stuart and Longstreet are in play for the Confederates. Freaking awesome. There's backside. Oh, we got some of the commissions. Whoa! South Carolina Memorial Committee. This is put here in the 1960s. Not bad. All right, the next state in the Confederacy is Arkansas. We drove through here. We got a little house right here. As you can see, here's the updates. So that hill over there, that's Little Round Top, and then that's Big Round Top. Those hills right there, and that's where Chamberlain marched had his bayonet charge down those, which we'll probably get to here in a second. So, as you can see, Arkansas stats, grateful people of the state of Arkansas erect this memorial as an expression of their pride. We got boxes with the Confederates. Forgotten Confederate state, Texas. Texas didn't really do much in the Civil War, but they were a Confederate state, and I guess they were here at Gettysburg, so they got July 2nd and 3rd of 1863, they were here. About 4:30 p.m. on July 2nd, they crossed with their division the Little Round Top. So they were talking about on the tour that Little Round Top they were planning to attack. The Confederates were going up there. The Union were on top of the Round Top. So they realized it was hard for the troops to march up there because of how dense the trees were. It was almost too dense. So they had to get to the top to get the Union, and the Union had the high ground. So it was very difficult for the Confederates to get up there because of how thick it was, and they had to march uphill at the same time. So, on the evening of July 3rd, the field at Gettysburg and the Texas Brigade suffered 597 casualties, which is one of the biggest out of all these states. That's a lot of casualties. I guess Texas was that Little Round Top. I mean, that's, wow. I mean, that's considering, because all the other states like Tennessee and Florida, and they didn't really have too many casualties. I mean, only 16 people from Tennessee died at this battle. 500, almost 600 Texas soldiers. It's kind of crazy. Because no one ever really talks about Texas in the Civil War, but it happened. So this was erected in 1964. Now for the last Confederate state, Alabama. So as we can see, we get a really good view of Big Round Top right there. You see how thick the woods was, and even they've cleared a little bit of it out probably since then. But the Confederate soldiers had to march up that through the woods with Union fire coming down. It was brutal for them. Oh my God, there's a huge spider down there. But here we go, Alabama. Let me get up here. We're here at the Little Round Top. So this is up here. Longstreet had to march his army up through the forest to get up to Little Round Top. So this is the 20th Maine Monument back here, one of my favorite regiments in the entire Civil War. So I think you had to go check this out. Let's go check it out. Here we go. On the afternoon of July 2nd, 1863, Union General Warren found Little Round Top undefended. He quickly sent his staff to find troops to defend the position. George Sykes, commander here, they basically came up the Union, tried to come up here because they knew that if they get the high ground, and Union had the high ground at this point in the battle in the afternoon of 1863. When the Confederates were marching up here, we basically could just shoot them down, and they had very skilled fire through the trees, which usually was very hard to do, but they trained them very well. So here we go. Riding ahead of his troops, Vincent ascended the hill and selected the ground where his brigade would make its defense. Vincent personally placed each of his 4 regiments and entrusted the left flank to Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain's 20th Maine. So he was the commander of the 20th Maine, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. I freaking love that guy. One of my favorite commanders in the entire war. Vincent's orders to Chamberlain were to hold the ground at all hazards. Within minutes of forming his line, Vincent's brigade was assaulted by Confederate regiments of Laws and Robertson's brigades, and desperate battle ensued across the entire brigade line. The line held, but the cost was high, including Vincent, who was mortally wounded. So the 20th Maine was up here. Let's go check it out. I think it's back right here. We get a better look at it. They probably got a money. Here we go. These are the people of the 20th Maine. So we remember watching a movie in 8th grade. We watched like a Civil War movie, and I remember they had the Confederates up top, and Chamberlain was in charge of the main army where they would shoot down them. And they eventually ran out of ammo, so what they had to do was just order a bayonet charge, which means they would put the bayonets at the end of their rifles and just go down the hill. So, and then the Confederates basically just dropped their weapons and ran the other way, just surrendered. Longstreet's army could not handle that because they were already worn out by the time getting up there, and then they came out to stab them. They just couldn't. They just had to turn back. Couldn't stand a chance. So that was basically the end for July 2nd for the Confederates, for Longstreet's army. The 20th Maine, 3rd Brigade, 1st Day, 5th Corps. Here's the stats of this. It's very hard to read this because of how... Now, if you want to talk about longevity in life, Chamberlain made it to 1914, which was one of the longest times after the war that any commander made it to. So that was we're back at Little Round Top. We're going to check out this thing here. Is a little story of what's going on with the Union Army up here. Basically, they camped out. Longstreet was going to march his army up here, but he had no idea that there were Union soldiers up here. In the morning there wasn't, but by the afternoon they had already camped up here, so he kind of got screwed over because of it. Once they did their bayonet charge down the hill, he was screwed. They couldn't do anything. He just had to surrender. All right. Go inside here. So here we go. We get a good view of the battlefield from here. This is awesome. Wow, look at that. Not bad indeed. Guess we can take the stairs up to the top. Might as well. Harlow, Butterfield. Oh, those guys. Dang, these stairs are there. It's like medieval or something. They don't fall.
There we go. There's cameraman's down.
Alright, guys. Make sure my head doesn't fly off. You can see right there, you get a whole view of the entire, basically the entire battlefield. Up here, so that's where Longstreet laid out the attack. Or I think that's where we were. That was which state regiment it was, which state memorial, but there's that barn. We were looking at the place, and here's the back down. Here we go. This is the Colonel Patrick O'Rourke, who was actually killed on July 140th New York Brigade, 3rd Brigade. And I don't know why on this statue his nose is so shiny compared to the rest of his arm. Look at that. Mustache and a sideburn combo. Such a shame he got killed there, but he was a colonel in that, the 140th New York. Not bad indeed. 1864. So I guess I got cancer. General Barnes. Alright, so Longstreet's army came through up here going to Little Round Top, which is up there. And there's a stream here. And they said, like, the hundreds of Confederate soldiers were killed here, and that stream for days just flowed red blood through the water. It was just horrible. And you get a good view down here of this. I was up there, and I got stabbed with a thorn bush, and now there's a big thorn consumed in my skin, so it's not very fun. But yeah, so do not touch thorn bushes if you're up there. They're not very painful. I'm not going to touch these plants either. But it's a good view. Just in the evening of July 2nd, 1863, had that, that was just red blood, that street. All right, this is the largest monument in Gettysburg. It's the Pennsylvania State Monument, commemorating the 35,000 men who fought from Pennsylvania at this battle. And they weren't fighting for a cause, they were fighting for their state, because this is Pennsylvania, where we're in right now. So it's the largest monument here. It's got Abraham Lincoln and the Pennsylvania governor up there, and then it's got Meade, Reynolds, a lot of these guys. So there we go. We got George Meade and Winfield Scott Hancock. Confederate state monuments. I didn't do some of the Union ones. I saw a few, but I didn't get to do them, sadly. But here's Pennsylvania, Gettysburg, 69 regiments. 69 regiments of infantry, 9 of cavalry, 7 battery artillery. And the total present were 34,530 men. And killed or mortally wounded 1,100. And 860 missing. And 3,177 wounded.
Hey, stand right here. We're getting pictures.
Okay, so I haven't really gone over July 3rd yet. We were kind of getting a little tired of stopping out everything. So what happened was the morning of that battle, Robert E. Lee basically decided we need to go in and do something very bloody and difficult to do. They had to go in with an all-in attack to try to defeat the Union soldiers. So he put Pickett in charge of the brigade, and then they went in with a thing called Pickett's charge, which you probably heard of, where they just shoot straight in there and go in for an attack. But it didn't work out very well, and the Union kind of destroyed them there, and that was it. It was on Cemetery Hill, which was somewhere over there. So here's the final end of the battle, like the afternoon of July 3rd. General Armistead, Robert E. Lee ordered 150 cannons to open fire on this position. There's Seminary Ridge. Seminary Ridge and Cemetery Hill, so it's two separate things. This was kind of the end of the battle right here after 3 days of fighting. So that was their last hope. But the Pickett's charge thing failed. So that wasn't very good for them. So here we go. Confederate cannon pounded this position, paving way for the front assault with Pickett's charge, but it didn't work out very well for them. But it was originally commanded by Longstreet, but Longstreet disagreed with going in because he thought it would fail because all of his other attacks failed. So he's like, Robert E. Lee put George Pickett in charge, and then he led the attack, but it didn't work as planned. Contributed to wreck this tablet, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts. So this is Longstreet's assault right there. All right, so we're at the Gettysburg National Cemetery right now. We're done with the battlefield, so now we're gonna check out the cemetery for a little bit. I'm not gonna do too much here, but we're just gonna check out because the video is already pretty meaty. So here we go. Silence and respect, so I'm not screaming here. Might have been right there, actually. That's where Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, one of the most famous speeches in U.S. history. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation with proposition that all men are created equal. Something like that. There he is. Don't know if we're allowed to climb up here or not. But there's Lincoln. Man himself. Oh yeah, here's the quotes. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. It's a famous quote, man. Alright. So this is the cemetery. We're going to go try to find the Ohio section. So here we go. These aren't even just all the people that died at Gettysburg. 2,700 more. Well, there are more people that died there, but some of the ones that died are here. Now these are new. World War I, World War II. So just, you know, veteran cemetery. So that's pretty cool. Right here we have the grave of George Nixon, who is actually Richard Nixon's great-grandfather. And he was actually killed here at the battle in July of 1863. He lived a few days after, but he died of his wounds, I think in July 10th or somewhere around there. But yeah, someone left a penny there for him. So he was in the regiment, the 73rd Ohio Regiment, which was the same regiment as my fourth great-grandfather. His name was Robert Connor Goodwin. He was a private in the same regiment that George Nixon fought in. He was born back in like 1845, but my ancestor actually lived through the battle and died in 1899 in Warren County, Ohio. So they were in the same regiment, which is actually pretty cool. And they got the monument somewhere out here that we're gonna go check out right now. Downtown Gettysburg, we were driving out to see where the monument was. We finally found it. 73rd Ohio Infantry, 2nd Brigade, 2nd Division, 11th Corps. Here was my fourth great-grandfather fought in this army, same one as George Nixon. George Nixon was killed on the field as we saw his grave, so it looks really cool. I like how they have that sheet over it, 73rd Ohio. It's awesome. So anyway, with that, Gettysburg Battlefield Tour, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. What?